Hi, I'm Theresa Pearson. I'm a landscape designer and I have my own business doing landscape design and installs in New Hampshire. For the most part, the soil in New Hampshire is very healthy. It tends to be on the acidic side, pH, meaning it's closer to 7, 8, or 9, rather than more neutral, where you have the lime content. And you also have what is called a lot of sandy loam in our area. So if you look around the state of New Hampshire as you're driving wherever, you're going to see what plant varieties are happy in New Hampshire. And that's going to tell you what you want to put onto your property, because happy plants are going to thrive and bring you happiness for years and years, probably decades. Some of the plants in New Hampshire that we currently use are considered a New Hampshire native, which means that they're very adaptable to the space. They require less maintenance, they require less fertilization, they require less watering. Some are hybrids. Speaking of fruit trees, one of the easiest plants to grow, and probably most enjoyable, is an apple tree. Apple trees are very happy growing in a variety of soil. They're easy keepers. Depending what variety you choose, you can wind up with any degree of fruit that's going to be different sizes, different colors. It's going to store well or maybe not store so well. And if you have crab apples on your property, your crab apple can act as a pollinator. One of the things that we do see a lot of in New Hampshire is the white birch tree. The white birch trees are quite prolific in New Hampshire and all of New England, but we started importing birch trees from China probably about 20 years ago, and we did that because there are regions of China that have similar zones to us, and turns out that the birch trees coming from China grew well and were more disease resistant than what we had been using here in the US. So when you're driving up 93, say, and you're heading up north, all you have to do is look along the side of the road and you're going to see all of the birch trees there. And Mother Nature has chosen to team them up with white pines and other conifers because they work well together. They're good team players. The roots of each plant support the other plant. The conifers, not losing their needles in the wintertime, can offer protection to the birch tree bark in the cold, icy, nor'easter type winters that we get here. And whenever I plant, whenever I design, I always think about the entire environment. So when you're putting a birch tree on your property, when you're putting the conifers on your property, when you're putting a fruit-bearing winterberry on your property, you're not just bringing year-round beauty to your property and adding value to your property, you're also feeding the birds and offering cover for various critters. And there's nothing better for the entire ecosystem. There are many varieties of what we call ornamental trees. Typically an ornamental is a flowering plant that produces fruit. And it may not turn out to be fruit that necessarily we're going to wind up harvesting or eating. It may be that fruit is there for the birds or the squirrels or the chipmunks or whomever, deer. But the ornamentals, we put them on our property mainly for their aesthetic value. Most of them are spring bloomers, and after winter in New Hampshire, you're always ready for some color in the spring. And there's so many choices to choose from. You could put dogwoods on your property, magnolias, amelanche, which is commonly known as serviceberry, chionanthus, which is commonly known as a fringe tree, a Chinese fringe tree, carragana, which gets a little yellow flower in the spring and is just a beautiful plant. And then, of course, there's the standard flowering crabapple tree, which is just beautiful and an abundant plant. And even the form of the, so to speak, naked crabapple in the winter is a really beautiful thing for any landscape. The other thing that you want to blend with your ornamentals are evergreens. And the benefit of the evergreen is that it adds year-round artistry to the space. It provides cover for animals. They are acid lovers, which means that, again, they like the higher pH in their soil, which means that they're very happy in New Hampshire. Um, Even though they're called an evergreen, they do shed their needles at certain times throughout the year. They don't lose all of their needles, they just go through a shedding process. And as they shed those needles, they are basically reinvigorating the soil for themselves, because those needles are going to be adding more acid to the soil, which they love. And this is true pretty much of most of the trees and plant life that you find in New Hampshire. It sort of creates and provides its own compost bin around itself, which continues to feed itself in a very natural, slow-released fashion. The beauty of the evergreens is that there's so many to choose from. You could choose balsams, Fraser firs, cypress, juniper, spruce, and within all of those varieties that I just named, there's subsets of small ones, larger ones. And what all these evergreens provide is year-round color, but you can also get different shapes, sizes, um, anything that you need to add to perhaps your existing landscape, or if you just want to create a feature with just evergreens to attract the birds. You can't go wrong with any one of these, any one of these evergreens. I do think that every property should contain some evergreen. As we walk onto the Life Forest property, you look around and you see what nature wants to be there. And so if you're choosing a tree for a loved one, follow the guidelines of what they're offering you or suggesting, because that's what's going to not only add to the aesthetics of that space, but the tree is going to be happy and healthy for decades. And as we walk around the property, um, we look at the many gifts that nature has given to us. And when we decide to put a plant there, or if we decide to put a plant or a tree on our property, or wherever, we're giving back to nature and thanking her for the gift that she has given to us. And that's the beauty of this site, is that it's a perfect balance of us taking some gifts from nature, but also giving back to nature. And it brings us a great peace of mind in the process.